Have a seat, sir. I saw your picture from the gala. It was sharp.
Hey man, you know, you have to put on you when I'm representing the city. I gotta put my best foot forward.
Well, you did. Hold on.
I got to move 32 since last It's the biggest head of the I got to give her a hard time.
Boy, y'all found my
How you doing? I'm right.
We're glad to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Are you not feeling good?
I had cold for like a week.
Did you finish your master's?
Wait until you got finished it. That's exactly what it did. I guess as soon as all the stress and everything was gone, my immune system was 4.0. But you got all your hours? So when you gonna take the state board? Maybe in October. That'll be the soonest.
What you been doing? I thought you went to school with Bradley with Holly.
But I'm still coughing.
Downtown development.
You going to Young Harris?
Why is that? She won't
Okay, so
be
you going to Young Harris and Holly's going to
She's in Blair's.
She's in Blair's now.
Blair's Brazelton. She's at DDA training right now.
Okay. I think I saw that when I looked at the agenda. The downtown development, she did. It's 8 full hours.
They won't let you out early either. It's high in the seat.
Which one is that one? The downtown development.
I got a meeting at 7 o'clock.
We'll be out of here in 20 minutes.
You got a meeting at 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock in McDonald's.
We'll be gone way before now.
12 minutes good. I'm with you. I got
Time up the court system or something like that. 1, 2, 3, go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the City of Griffin Board of Commissioners, August 14, 2018. We're going to begin with Commissioner Ward leading the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by me with the invocation. Please rise.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we're here today to ask for your blessings and guidance in performance of our duties as elected officials. We pray for strength, love, knowledge, and understanding. Help us to recognize and solve the problems that are presented. Make our solutions fair and just to the best interest of everyone. Help us to overcome our shortcomings and keep us united as a team to work for the betterment of the city and its people. We pray in your name. Amen. Next item is to approve the agenda as presented. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as it is.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Tinsley. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. And for the record, Mrs. Murray is in training today and will probably not make it in today. Item 1, under presentations and delegations, recognize Patricia Hughes, account specialist for the airport, as the July 2018 Strongest Link Award recipient. Robert Mole, airport director, will address. Good evening, Robert.
Good evening. Thank y'all for having me. Oh my goodness, who was up here? Were you up here, Brent? Okay. Patricia, y'all want to come on down? I'll go ahead and get started while she's on her way up. As you know, there's not very many of us at the airport. There's a 3-person team and a millennial. No offense. In June, we lost our account specialist, Martin Sands. Patricia came to work Patricia Hughes came to work out at the airport with us in July, replacing him. Having come from the customer service department, Patricia was already well versed in the city's accounting and Cogsdale system. Transitioning her to the accounting for the airport took very little effort, and she seamlessly fit in with our team. However, loyalty runs deep with Patricia, and she still felt the sense of that for her former department and the friends she moved away from, because I stole her from the electric department. So when she came to me and requested that she be allowed to take all her breaks and her lunchtime to go back and help out her former team, I agreed. In the months of February, March, and April of this year, Patricia, on her own time, assisted the customer service department in processing EFT, ACH rejects, and issuing collection letters. She personally reconciled and issued 125 files and letters that, when collected, will have recovered $69,938 in unpaid receivables. Patricia could have easily left this work for her replacement. That is not the type of dedicated employee this is. Patricia could not leave unfinished work, and when she saw that her former team was shorthanded and needed the help, she stepped up. This is the type of employee Patricia is, both dedicated and loyal. This is the type of employee that I am fortunate to have to support the airport, to support me and our team out there. With this amount of dedication, we can not only succeed, we will excel. And with that, we submitted Patricia as the strongest link in the chain. And we have here this plaque to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you want to go ahead and introduce and your family, everybody, and say a few words, feel free.
All I want to say is thank you, and I appreciate it. And these are 3 of my grandkids, a couple more back there, 2 of my daughters and my husband. So I thank y'all very much.
We thank you.
Patricia, you are an exceptional employee. We've worked with you so many years in the customer service. It was a sad day when you left us and Robert stole you away, but blessings to you and your family, and thank you for your commitment and dedication. The level of service you gave our customers in the city of Griffin is exceptional, and we're proud of you.
Thank you, Mr. Holberg.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, wait. We got a Griffin.
Big picture time.
And
Y'all want to get in the picture?
James was the best boss ever at Chick-fil-A.
I'll turn around and look at the camera.
Face this way.
You want to hold this? Okay, you hold that. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, folks.
You hear it, baby.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Next item is to review financial reports for June 2018. Chief Financial Officer Marcus Schwab will address. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, good evening, Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, Commissioners. All right, this is the tentative numbers. These are the tentative numbers for June 30th. So the first one we'll review are the cash position for each fund. Any questions on that?
Looks solid.
Okay, next item will be the local option sales tax and SPLOST numbers. Looks like in aggregate, we estimated about $3,535,000 for the year. On the lost side, and on the SPLOST collections, $3,685,000. We do have one more month of accrual to bring in for June, which will post next month.
Mr. Wilson had expressed at a recent meeting about how the splash collections continue to be strong. So
Yes, sir.
good sign for the economy.
And the next item is the 2016 SPLOST collections. So you see our activity there. The amount of money that's collected versus allocated towards blight and transportation, and then the year-to-date or tentative expenditures for the blight program. Any questions on that? And the last item, the interim statements by fund. This is the results of operations for the year, for 12 months. We do have a few more accruals to post to close out some of the grants, and yes, grants are primarily the ones that take 60 days to close out.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
And just for information, we're planning the millage rate, to set the millage rate on August 28th through a public hearing. It looks like the digest has increased in value some. The exemptions have decreased somewhat. And because of our stronger local option sales tax collections, that reduced the rollback rate to about 7.639. So tentatively, the estimated collections is about $4 million, and we programmed the budget with about $4,071,000. So it's about $71,000 less than what we're geared up for, and that'll be up to Mr. Smith and the team to identify whether or not we're going to make that. I feel confident that we will achieve that. There are some other items that we programmed in that are not included in the tax digest, and that is the pilot program. So that's a separate reported entity.
Okay. And we'll deal with that on the 28th?
The public hearing will be set. We're trying to get the ad published on Sunday, but apparently the paper doesn't run then, so we're going to either run it Friday or Tuesday, but it needs to be within 7 days or at least 7 days prior, so we're probably program it for Friday to run, and the public hearing will be in the evening at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, Marcus.
Okay, thank you.
Next item of business is to citizens' comment. At this time, the chairperson opens the floor to comments from the audience. Comments should relate to specific agenda item not listed on the agenda for public hearing or to concern within the jurisdiction of the city. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business and are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinion. The chairperson reserves the right to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager or other staff for resolution. With that being said, is there anybody on my left side that'd like to come before the commission? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairperson, Commissioners. My name is Ray Hobbs Muhammad. My address is 1143 Spring Creek Circle, Griffin, Georgia, 30223. My comments are a question I have. This is the first time I paid my light bill, and I paid it with a debit card. And as I go around to the particular districts and whatnot and speak with people, there's issues about their light bills and things of that nature. So I made it my business because my mother asked me to mention something about, is there anything for the senior citizens in the way of any help and assistance for their utility bills because she's on a fixed income, and most of the senior citizens whom I speak with are on fixed incomes, and the issues are their light bills are a little too high. Now my personal issue is when I paid my bill, I paid with a card. There's a $3.75 service fee attached to that. Is that something that the commissioners, who set that fee to be, first of all, that high?
Well, the fee is what we get charged, so we've got a set fee there to offset the cost that we get charged.
Okay.
So it's just, it's a balance. So you may want to look at other options, which we can get staff to get with you.
Okay.
How you can avoid that transaction fee.
Okay, thanks a lot. I was just concerned. I thought that was a bit much.
There's some different organizations that help seniors, but we don't have a set program with the City of Griffin in regards to seniors.
Okay, and someone would get
with... We could also offer energy audit services from city staff.
Okay.
The budget department will actually come out and meet with you and show you ways to save energy and things.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a blessed evening. Again, this is a citizen comment. Is there anybody on my left side like to come before the commission? Anybody on my left? Is there anybody on my right side like to come before the commission? Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Kim Williams, 502 South 6th Street. Could you clarify again when the possible date was for that millage rate hearing?
The 28th, which will be 2 weeks from today.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Again, this is citizens' comment. Is there anybody else on the right side like to come before the board? Going once, twice, sold. Okay, moving on. Tonight there's no public hearings. Next item is the consent agenda. Probably need to pull item 3 out and vote on that separately. So we're going to do item 3 first. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved, sir.
Mr. Brock with a motion. Ms. Ward with a second. Any corrections or comments? All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. And one abstention. So 5-0-1 with Ms. Flowers abstaining. Next is taking items 4 through 11, all in one. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Ms. Ward to take items 4 through 11 in one vote. Do we have a second? Ms. Flowers with a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Moving to the regular agenda, item 12, consider approval to amend the City of Griffin's fiscal year 2018-19 operating and capital budget in the amount of $12,500 for the donation received and designated for the purchase, training, and certificates of 2 K-9 units.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. McCord with a motion to approve, Ms. Ward with a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. And I'd like to read in the minutes just to show appreciation. We'd like to recognize the following contributors: Speedway Ford, AKC Car Canine Support and Relief Fund, Griffin, Georgia Kennel Club, Agrium, and Ray News Outdoor Equipment. We sincerely thank them for the generous donations. The amendment appropriates contributions and donations of $12,500 received to the Police K-9 Fund and subsequently toward the purchase, training, and certificate of 2 K-9 dogs. Anything else, Chief, you'd like to add?
Very quickly, a number of the individuals that helped contribute the money to purchase these dogs had asked that we recognize them or give them an opportunity to come before council at some point in the future. And what we wanted to do is wait till we actually acquire the new dogs, get them trained, and then bring them at the same time. So they had asked that I kind of put that out there for you guys. So we'll put it together for some point in the future. So, but we really appreciate it. It helped us out a great deal. So,
thank you, Chief. Item 13, to accept the terms and conditions requiring to receive funds from the Justice Assistant Grant JAG funded by the Department of Justice in the amount of $31,615 once awarded.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Ward with a motion, Mr. McCord with a second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. All against? 6-0. Item 14, to consider a telephone service agreement with RTC Solutions, Inc.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Ward with a motion, Mr. McCord with a second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 15, consider a resolution authorizing approval of a standard utility agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation to relocate city water and sewer infrastructure during installation of traffic signalization improvements at the intersection of Subroute Highway 155 and North Hill Street, and authorize the chairperson to sign the agreement and secretary to attest.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Second by Mr. Tinsley. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Item 16 is consider a memorandum of understanding for property maintenance to be managed by the Griffin Housing Authority.
I make a motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Tinsley. And staff does recommend approval on this. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. Good job, Mr. Kirk. Item 17, consider a memorandum of understanding between the city and the Downtown Council to fund a joint part-time assistant position.
Make a motion to approve.
I'd like to hear Jessica first.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Ms. Ward with a motion, Mr. McCord with a second, with discussion. Good evening, Ms. O'Connor.
Good evening. Oops, I'm knocking things over. Okay, we have been approached by Downtown Council as the city's economic development department because we are both in need of some part-time assistance in regards to administrative tasks, marketing, event coordination, and planning. And since they are so similarly situated, we would like to share that role. It's very similar to what we did with the executive director with GSBTA, who also ran our Main Street program. Again, this is just a part-time position that each entity would fund at $6,000 a year, so $500 a month. And as for the job duties and responsibilities, we're working on that job description now to be able to advertise once we approve the memorandum of understanding.
And this is already in the city budget, correct?
Yes, it's budgeted right now as an intern, and Ms. Carricker, who was here this summer, just left, and so it will just remain as a part-time position instead of that intern listed.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the memorandum of understanding. All in favor, please raise your hand. All again, 6-0. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Connor. Item 18, consider authorizing travel and training for GMA sessions for Commissioner Murray and Tinsley.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion, Mr. McCord with a second. Any discussion or comments? All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. 6-0. And item 19 is Commissioner McCord requests to consider renaming the city golf course in memory of Mr. Wayne McBride.
Clubhouse golf course.
I'm sorry, the clubhouse. Clubhouse. I'd like for us to table this to discuss on the 28th, if that's okay with the board.
I'd like to vote on it tonight if we could. They're having the city championship this weekend, and if you got some discussion, I mean, but if the majority wants to table it, I mean, we will have to table it. But I mean, he meets all the criteria. We've set precedents and named other buildings in honor of people. And
we developed a memorial at the golf course that could put names on it, and so that was the discussion was, do we need to name more buildings, or do we have something in place at the situation? So the hope was for us to discuss it at the 28th in more detail.
It's at the pleasure of whoever wants to do it. If we want to name a building after an individual, we can put the individual's name on the building. It meets the criteria. Or you can put it on a memorial. We got the George Reed building at the solid waste. We got the city pool is named for Ms. Zenobia Kennebrew. This room right here is named for what's his name?
George.
Elmer George. I mean, we can at the Welcome Center. I mean, we can go on and on. So it's just the pleasure, and if there's some people that have a problem with it, then I mean it's not a problem. We just voting on this. The process, democratic process.
Yes, sir. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to table it, sir, for further discussion when we've got.
We have a motion to table from Mr. Brock. Do we have a second to table?
I'll second.
Mr. Tinsley with a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this until the next workshop. All in favor of tabling, please raise your hand. All against, like sign. So we got 3-3. What's your opinion?
It's not bad.
Okay. All right. So
What happened?
So we make a motion to consider the request.
Okay. So we have a motion to consider the request by Mr. McCord. Do we have a second?
I make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Ward with a second. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
We are, I'm just checking for the verbiage here. We are actually naming it and not consider, like what are we, I'm trying to make sure
We're just putting his name on the clubhouse like we did at the swimming pool for Ms. Kennebrew.
We also had a monument that we put out there.
We've already got a
monument to keep having things named on the golf course.
Y'all know that that's neither here nor there for me. You know, I am staunchly against naming anything after anyone, whether it's on a building or on the commemorative whatever. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand that because it's saying request to consider, but we're asking to change the name. Is that what?
It doesn't have a name.
Well, naming, period.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to be sure, because just how I feel anyways in general. All right. That was my question.
So we have a motion to name the city golf course clubhouse in memory of Mr. McBride. All in favor, please raise your hand. All against, like sign. 2-4, Ms. Ward, Mr. McCord, and the other 4 against. Okay. Moving to the city manager's report.
Okay, don't forget the Archway Retreat is the 23rd. That's next Thursday at the Senior Center from 4 until 8. The agenda is posted, so we'll look forward to everybody being there and discussing things from our last retreat in February. As you mentioned, SPLOS collections are up for 27 months. We're averaging 722, a little better than 722,000, where we were budgeted for 700. So let's keep our fingers crossed that continues because we do need that little extra. Speaking of SPLOST projects, the old City Hall, historic City Hall, is coming along. It has been framed. Electrical's in there now. If anybody wants to go down and take a look, I usually walk down there about once a week and view the progress, so just let me know. I have keys to it if the construction people are not there. During the daytime when they're working on it, it's kind of hectic in there. You need a hard hat, but we'll go down there anytime you want to go. Just let me know. The demo of the fire headquarters, if you haven't been up North Expressway and looked, you can actually see Southern Crescent from the road. It has made a huge difference. We're real proud of that. So if you haven't been by, go by and take a look. Also, if you haven't seen the new landscaping in the islands, one in front of Wendy's, one at Old Macon Road and Experiment Street so far, another huge difference in our aesthetics throughout town, so we're real proud of that. Marcus mentioned the millage rate that we will set next week, assuming everybody's on board with the rollback rate. And if you look at that, our millage rate will actually go down again from 7.771 to 7.639. And if you look at the 5-year history, our millage rate will be decreased by almost a full mill in the last 5 years. So real proud of the staff and the way that they're holding expenses. Congratulations to our employee who has disappeared, but congratulations to Ms. Hughes on her Strongest Link award. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Whalen? I have none. Mr. McCord?
I want to recognize School Board Elect District 1, Mr. Centel Brown, and also Spalding High School, I think it's junior, Nick Edgerson, made it out to our meeting tonight to see our democratic process taking place. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Flowers?
No comment.
Mr. Brock?
No comment, sir.
Mr. Tinsley?
I would like to thank the Bruce Speedway Ford, Griffin Kennel Club for donating to police dogs, and I guess we'll have them in here as long as Mike, they don't bite, right? So. If you're a bad guy, you might be in trouble. Stay away from them. But I'd like to thank those folks that helped. $12,500 is a nice chunk of change. So, and I believe there's still time to sign up for Griffin University, Griffin Citizens Academy, if you haven't done so already. That's coming up pretty short. So that's it.
I don't have anything.
Ms. Holberg, before you do, I do want to mention one thing before and it slipped my mind. This Friday night, our community will come together, probably the biggest event of the year, the Griffin High Bears versus Spalding High School football game. Encourage everyone to come out. It's a great community event. Encourage both teams, especially Griffin High School. Make sure everyone comes out, support the Bears. Be there, sorry about that, Nick. Be there Friday night, 7:30. The unveiling of our new Jumbotron scoreboard at Griffin. Your tax dollars at work. Yours truly will be on the mic, so make sure you get there, support both teams, support our community, and anybody want to buy an ad for either team, please see the touchdown clubs. And Mr. Brown will be doing the coin toss for the football game.
Go Jags.
Go Bears. That's it.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Ms. Ward with a motion. The second, Mr. Tinsley. All in favor, please rise. Good night, folks.
All right.
See you.